Hi. Today's topic would be more on the lines of labeling. Um, as I've mentioned before, I am an intersex and a woman, and I consider myself transsexual and transgendered also. And some of the problems with this have been mainly concerning labels for me is that if I try to relate to men that find me as a normal woman, that often I've come across the dilemma of, as many of you probably have, as trying to openly um, explain that I'm not a typical woman and that as being intersex and transsexual, that it has its own set of, um, it does have its own set of problems as far as dating. Or I am recently widowed of over a year, and when I've tried to, so-called get back on the horse, kind of feel like your whole world's been flipped upside down. The safety net I had of being married and having a husband and just being a wife, and all the contentment of being able to just express myself to my husband the way I am. Now I find myself having to explain everything all over again to a whole another set of people. And I just really don't find myself at this stage in my life. I'm 52, and I just don't really care to get into the details. But I want to explain enough to them so they understand that, um, I am different. And unfortunately, for many, there's this difference is enough for them to either find me questioning, whether or not they want to continue on knowing me more and entering a more serious relationship. So I've been keeping people at a distance, and that in itself isn't bad. It's just that um, it's just new again. I mean, I just thought I was over that after being married and having explained myself to my husband and his family and all the friends and relatives that that curtails. So I'm just kind of it's all new to me again. And I've listened to a lot of people online that have shared their feelings on how they explain things, and or how they confront new relationships as being intersex or transsexual. And that's helped me. It has. But um, I still find myself, at the point I just don't even want to be looking for a relationship anymore, as far as, an intimate one. I just really found that my first two relationships that I've had in life, one with a woman and one with a man, they came through because it was out of friendship, and I think still that that's the best way. Although, you know, people want to know that there can be more and that there's an intimacy levels can be, you know, a sexual one. So it's not fair to them to say, okay, we can be friends, but uh, I don't want to ever do any more than that. So that leaves me with, being kind of standoffish if I'm really upfront with people. So I feel like clear air that I usually push people away before they get to know me. If I try to let them figure it out and ask questions. Like most recently, I had a man that actually had me checked out. I guess he had a relative that was in the sheriff's department, and I guess he ran my name, license plate, I don't know. But he found out that I, did live as a male, so he questioned that. And so I explained to him. And unfortunately, he was okay with the fact that, he believes that, I wasn't really trying to hide anything, and he sees me as a woman, so that's not the problem. But I do feel like, you know, irritated the fact that he had me checked out without, just behind my back, and that he wouldn't ask me first more, more questions. But then I think about it, if he did, I don't know, I guess maybe I wasn't answering the ones he had fast enough. I did explain certain things to him, that I was different than regular women, and that, I wanted to take things slow. But in his method of analyzing me, I guess he wanted to know what the future may bring, so there obviously was enough doubt of who I was as a woman, and he had me checked out. So, I don't know if I should, continue on in pursuing a relationship with somebody I just don't trust really anymore, and or having the feeling like I'm under somebody's scrutiny, like they're going to be wondering if I'm really woman enough, or I just always have those questions in my mind. So I wonder if any of you have had that, feeling of, being scrutinized just because you are different. And I imagine others have, but I know for me it helps to talk about it. I don't really like labels that much, but I guess we have to accept a certain amount of them to function in this world. And when it comes down to it, we're more than our labels. Our labels never truly define us. And mostly I've been looking for somebody that maybe has a better understanding, so I don't have to explain myself more. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm more interested in the intersex or transsexual, transgender community. Because when others, are friends, I would be interested in befriending more people in the intersex, transgender, transsexual community. Since I've been away from that quite a, distance myself since I was married, I feel like I'd like to be more involved. So this is a way for me to reach out to others in the community of gender variance, however, some call it gender queer, some label it gender dysphoric. I don't really consider myself gender dysphoric. I don't have a problem with who I am. I just have difficulty in how to be who I am in a society that's bi-gendered, where you have to be a man or a woman and behave such, although I'm a feminine person, I do have many masculine experiences and traits. So if any of this is making any sense, I wouldn't mind somebody writing me a comment, or make a video. That'd be great. I'm open to any suggestions. So if you have something that might come about as wanting to get to know me more, or questions, I sure like to answer. So signing off.